I was taken to see Macbeth by my parents when I must have been about 12, I guess, at York Theatre Royal. And they they had a copy of Lamb's Tales of Shakespeare, and so whenever we used to go fairly regularly to see whatever their Shakespearean production they had. I was made to read the kind of Lamb's Tale beforehand, so I could understand what was going on, which I did. But I specifically remember the staging of Macbeth there, and it on lots of different levels made a searing impression, and one which is clearly clearly lasted.
We did a film a long time ago, which was very traditional and shot in studios at Shepperton, and Kit and his partner in KMA, Tom Wexler, just were providing the VFX, putting in skies and some set extensions, and it was after that process that we sat and had a discussion in a pub where the best ones tend to happen about kind of why we did it the way we did, and what the sort of kind of new technologies allowed us to do, and would it be interesting to kind of pursue a different way of sort of a different film language and a different way of approaching filmmaking.
The process of making the previous film, The Knife That Killed Me, was a deeply experimental one. One of the frustrations of finishing it was realising what it might have been and what the language offered, where we'd failed. And some of the excitement was about realising that actually, despite all those failures, there's something interesting in that language that's really worth pursuing.
There were these very interesting storytelling techniques coming out, which is this idea that you as an audience member were being involved in the process. You were being asked to look at what was being put in front of you, to ask yourself questions, which we felt, it's much more like a theatre experience than it is a traditional film experience.
I think the style of The Knife was sort of explosively radical, in that there's a sort of uncontained spilling into the frame of everything that might otherwise be contained within a subjective mind world, and it's dizzying and it's exciting and it's exhausting and it's dark and it's troubling and it's provocative. But there's so much in Macbeth that is dark and troubling and provocative.
Quite a number of people said after having seen The Knife that there was a sort of Shakespearean quality about it, and I think what they meant by that was the more than anything the play between a sort of narrative realism, a sort of drive in the moment, and this kind of abstract psychological space that gets explored. And so when I was looking around, I was first of all drawn to Shakespeare, and then clearly thinking, well, okay, where do you go with that? And particularly with trying to find a play that's familiar, that's strong, that's relatively short, but that more than anything is a play that completely pivots on that relationship between the real and the psychological, the physical and the metaphysical. And Macbeth is a perfect exemplar of all of those things, I think.
Kit, as you know, has this particular style where he's trying to find graphic ways of representing interior worlds. And so we were talking about how this might work in relation to Shakespeare's Macbeth, and we thought actually Macbeth offers really richly suggestive territory in those sorts of ways. So we've been developing a conversation about how bringing Kit Monkman style into conversation with this play, which is so much about an interior imaginative world, could yield an interesting kind of synthesis.